On today's episode, we discuss marketing, reallocating your 401k, starting a business while in basic training, voice search, and what is a pepper?
Some of the biggest impacts in a community happen at the local level. We'll dive deep into the challenges local businesses face, their biggest achievements, and what they're doing to make a positive impact in their local community. It's time to get the word out right here on the Johnny Miller Audio Experience, powered by Veracity Storage. Now, welcome your host, the man himself, Johnny Miller.
Welcome, ladies and gents. This is Johnny Miller, and you're listening to the Johnny Miller Audio Experience, powered by Veracity Storage, Episode 5. Today's guest is a North Dakota native and was born and raised in the small town of Hillsboro, North Dakota. He attended the University of North Dakota, where he studied commercial aviation. After realizing he won't ever be allowed to do loops and or barrel rolls, he switched his focus to marketing and graduated with a general study degree so he could literally be good at everything. He has spent the last 7 years working in the marketing industry. The CEO and co-founder of AdShark Marketing, my guest today, Rick Berg. Rick, my man, what's going on?
Not much. How are you, John?
Good. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So we actually start every podcast with the drink of the day, but Rick's got another surprise for me. He actually brought drinks today.
I did.
So you already got one mixed for us. What are we drinking?
Moscow Mules.
Sweet, dude. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
So the drinks of the day, I actually have a grab bag, which I always bring. We might dive into some of this stuff. I literally have today.
What do you got anyway?
We got, well, you brought that. What kind of beer is that?
That's ginger beer. So that's
ginger beer. Okay. So I have the normal Busch
mix.
Light. I have energy drinks, so we could do vodka Red Bulls if we wanted to. I have orange juice. We could get into that. I have, we're probably not going to hit the coffee, so we have coffee drinks, some type of mocha stuff.
We can mix it up, get crazy. The only thing I don't want to do is Captain Morgan.
You don't want to do
no,
Captain
I don't
Morgan?
Like Captain.
Oh, that's my specialty.
That's like one of the few
and
things
then
I don't
have,
like.
Diet Coke, and I think I got like some Diet Mountain Dew in there. So we have a whole grab bag, but Ricky brought drinks today, so that's amazing. All right, dude. So while I sip on this drink, for the handful of people who do not know you in the marketing industry, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about yourself, where you came from, how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said, I grew up in Hillsboro, North Dakota, small town, halfway between Grand Forks and Fargo.
Another Class B school?
Yep.
Our last guest.
Class B, for
which
sure.
You actually know our last guest. She was a little Class B-er, too.
Yeah.
You guys, there's a lot of you guys.
Yeah. She's from Reynolds, I think.
Yeah,
Buxton Reynolds, like Central Valley.
Mayport CG she went to or something?
Oh, was it Mayport?
That what it is?
Yeah, that could
I'm not
be.
sure where she's from, but it was that's where she went to school, I think.
Yeah, we all kind of knew each other in that general region of Hillsboro, Mayville.
What's Hillsboro's mascot?
Burro.
Burro? Nice. So you went to
or
Hillsboro.
A jackass, as some people call us. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so we got some heck for that, for sure.
Okay, so I already interrupted you once.
No,
keep going, buddy.
So yeah, grew up in Hillsboro. Went to college at UND, as you said. You took the bio,
dude, I'm really
right
good at that,
from the
man.
website.
I can find anything about anybody
and
on the internet.
I didn't write that.
I know,
PS.
it's fine.
Our team wrote it. And it was so funny and so good that
one of
we
my
kept it
biggest
on there.
fears is I'm gonna find this about somebody one day, and I'm just gonna read it and then be like, dude, that's made up.
Well, I think, we're lucky that there isn't made up stuff in there, but yeah.
That's all right.
Because, anyway.
Well, if I don't know, no one else probably knows.
Yeah. I just roll with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I used to be a mime or a clown.
So actually, you went, so literally, Rob went to UND, Ramey attended 1 year at UND, and now you're another UND grad. Well, I'm literally from NDSU, and I'm picking up all these UND grads.
Go Sioux, yeah.
Yeah, the Fighting Hawks are on it.
So I went to school at UND, and I chose UND, because they are one of the top schools in the nation for commercial aviation, or a lot of people say the top. And I wanted to be a pilot essentially ever since I can remember when I graduated high school. Our third grade teacher actually gave us this time capsule thing that we wrote from third grade. And mine was, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. So, it was, since with it being so close, it was a pretty obvious choice. Went to UND, and I was at UND for 6 years. I did commercial aviation for 4 years.
Wow.
Spent an incredible amount of money on that, and decided, hey, this isn't what I want to do. It's boring. You know, as you said, I can't do loops or barrel rolls or
Did you watch like
tower
Top
flybys.
Gun? Is that how you got like into this?
Top
You're
Gun
like,
was a huge factor in
I
that,
knew it.
for sure.
That's awesome.
You know, the Marines and Air Force too, their enrollment like increased
Right.
300% after Top Gun.
That's
By the way, they're
crazy.
coming out with Top Gun 2 soon, I hear.
Wow.
So yeah, so I did aviation, spent a bunch of money, decided, you know, I didn't want to do it. So I switched to marketing, did that for 2 years. And finally, after 6 years of school, I was like, you know what, this is enough school for me. I'm just going to graduate.
Right.
And if you had enough credits, you could basically just get a
Right,
general
the general.
degree. So that's what I did.
Crazy. And then you're just like, now you're just like fully into the marketing deal, huh? You're like, it's like awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, after school, did a couple different jobs. Trying to even remember exactly. I was at New York Life as a financial advisor for
That's
a while. I was a sales and marketing manager for a clinic. And then right before AdShark, which is kind of how we got our start, I was working for Myriad Mobile here in town, a very young startup mobile app company, and I was doing sales for them. And I was their only salesperson. And as part of that, you know, I took it upon myself to, hey, let's do some marketing for them. And I went straight to Google AdWords, and we had some success right out of the gate and had some big proposals out to some companies out in San Francisco. And kind of as a result of that, Jake, the CEO, started telling other companies about us, and I started having people reach out to me to help them. And that's essentially how we got started. So it was kind of just...
And that was like what, 2010, 11, 12? It's kind of
2013.
13 basically.
Yep. So I started with Myriad in January of 2013. AdShark started August of 2013.
Crazy. So you guys have been around for like coming up on 6 years here in August.
Yeah.
That
5.5 years.
crazy.
Yeah.
You think about like how much the ad world has changed just in the last 6 years is unbelievable, actually, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's you know, continually changing all the time.
Yeah.
And Facebook became much more of a major player too. And Facebook has been changing even more rapidly, I think, because it's even newer.
Right.
You know, to the industry, to the stage.
That's crazy. So while you're in high school or anything, did you play any sports or anything? You get involved with any of that
Yep.
type of stuff? I know all these Class B people. They always played something.
Dude, Class B is where it's
I
at.
know. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was a wrestler.
Oh,
and
another wrestler. I did not know that about you.
Yep.
Huh.
And I played football too.
Right. Yeah, because we met through Rob, right?
Yep,
And then I met him I think I met you like basically a couple weeks after I met him.
Oh, really?
Because weren't you guys living in that apartment together?
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I thought that's funny because I thought you guys had went back like years.
No, I actually met Rob in like 2000, end of 2009 or 10 because our wives were friends. And then they were like, hey, we should all get together. And all three of us have like the same personality a lot.
Yeah.
So like we just hit it off like instantly, me and Rob.
Yeah, that would be like pretty much right around the
about
same time.
Because I remember like my wife now, we just kind of started dating right around that time. I met you and Robbie and his wife and stuff like that. So crazy. Yeah. So that goes back like it's going on like 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. So you got out of UND. You had a couple of those other jobs that basically built the foundation for where you're at for AdShark. How did you put the team together to decide how you wanted to go? And how'd you come up with the name?
The name was pretty like completely random. So, you know, once I had companies reaching out to me, we got our first client, and it's tough to remember exactly, but I think right around the same time, I'm like, okay, this could be an actual business that I should look into. And so essentially I just took a Google Doc, put together all these words that I could think of and, you know, for digital marketing, all these things. And obviously words that have nothing to do with those, like shark, you know, and whatnot. And then I just kind of put them in a sheet and like mixed them all together and tried to find one that sounded good. AdShark, you know, I thought it sounded cool. It sounded good. And I looked, and AdShark Marketing domain was available. So just kind of picked that and went with that.
Which irony is in 13, a lot more domains were available. Because now, since then, like, companies just scoop up all the domains and resell them back, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it was bad then, and now it's just really bad.
Really bad, right?
So finding a .com domain that's available is tough.
So do you think the domains go away from ever.com, or will it be a time where people are like, dude, you have a .com? That's like really cool because they won't exist. Like, will it be like at some point is there going to be another domain that they go with? Or obviously they have the edu and the org and whatever, but
there's like hundreds more that
right?
they launched, in the last 2 years, like, .online, .shop, there's so many that they started. But the thing is if you want somebody to go to your site, they can easily Google it. But it helps to have them remember your domain as well. And if you have to remember these like suffixes on all these domains, like that just won't work.
Right.
People know .com and like that's it. And plus .com kind of adds trust too.
It gives you validity.
Yeah, if you're .net or .co or
like,
whatever, you're like,
right.
Are they really legit?
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, those suffixes are always cool. So you kind of came up with the name, just kind of putting all that together. Then how did you get how did you assemble your team? Did you have a couple guys that were interested in doing it, or?
So yeah, once I got my first client, I still hadn't even got the business registration through the state or whatever. So like it wasn't even a legit business yet. But so then I did a Google search and I was like, who else in the market is doing what we're doing? Just focus on digital, essentially Google search or whatever. And I ended up stumbling across a site. I think it was actually the first result when I searched it. And it was FargoWebStrategy.com. And there's a picture of this like goofy looking kid. And and so I'm like, hey, I should reach out to this guy, like, meet him anyway, see what it's about. So I reached out. We ended up meeting up. And it was kind of a nerdy little kid in college at NDSU, an engineering student. But we quickly noticed that like our vision and what we saw in terms of the market and potential and opportunity, I guess, aligned. And 3 days later, I had him join the team. We merged up, and that was that. So I just found him randomly by searching on Google.
That's awesome. And then I'm guessing because you're talking about Sean, right?
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah. And you guys both kind of have your own strengths and weaknesses and difference, which is like a huge thing. Like when you're building a team, right? You'd never want like two people exactly like you because you're gonna, butt heads and stuff like that. One of the main reasons why Veracity Storage works so good is between me, Rob, and Dusty. Like we all have our individual strengths. Yeah. I'm more on the financial side. I like to do the operations, a little bit of the marketing stuff. Rob is like a real estate guru. He likes to dive into the properties. He had the connections for commercial real estate. Connections with a little bit of marketing that we did. Kind of had those external connections, and then Dusty's kind of our maintenance and construction guy. He knew the construction field, got our general contracting license. So. Having like people that are a little bit different than you, but you click with and have the same vision is like a really big deal.
Oh yeah.
Because if I had just two other guys that were like me, it would not work. Absolutely not. Because construction wise, we'd never know how to do anything.
Yep.
And then you'd always kind of like butting heads. So building a team is, you told me how many employees you guys got now, like
15.
15 employees. So yeah, like building a team like that is like a big deal.
Yeah.
You gotta have your B, C, and D players, man. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I think having different strengths is huge, and diversity between the founders and the entire team is big,
right?
For sure.
Cool. So you guys formed up, built the alliance, basically got the name going. That was 2013. Yep. You got all the trademark stuff, got everything registered. No, you didn't do that right away?
No, I haven't done that at all. I don't think anything's trademarked.
Or not trademarked, but you went through the Secretary of State
and
got your license. Yeah.
So the name is secured in North Dakota.
Right.
Yeah. So we have that registered, I guess.
Registered, yeah. That's kind of what I was going. Yeah, sorry, not the trademark. That's a different deal. So you guys kind of started off, and then were you guys just kind of working out of like your apartments, or did you rent a little place to get this going, or what?
No, so I was still working at Myriad Mobile doing sales essentially for mobile app software for companies, and the founders there, Jake and Ryan, really cool and they were young guys. They were 24. I was 30. And, they basically just said, it looks like you have some opportunity there. Go do it. So I was working part-time for them.
Awesome.
And then part-time at AdShark. And they let us use their office as our office.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we gave them, as compensation or whatever in exchange for doing this and whatnot and helping us get going. We gave them some ownership in the company initially.
That's amazing.
But it was a huge factor, in our early success. They sent us some referrals, and they still do, and we're still really close. Eventually, we bought them out of the company. I'd say within a year or so, because silent partners don't work.
Dude, I'm telling you, right?
And starting out, I think it's a mistake a lot of founders make is they're much looser with their equity getting going, because you don't know where it's going to go,
right?
And you don't know the issues that you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know the issues that it causes later. It's not really issues; it's just kind of animosity. Like, I'm working my ass off growing this, and like you're not adding any value. Like, I just don't think it really works out well to have silent partners.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of thought about that too, like how fast do we want to expand? What do we want to do? Do we want to get silent partners? You kind of go back and forth, and I mean, Rob and me and Dusty brought up kind of the same points you said. Like, they're never going to like really contribute to the company as much. Yeah, hey, they contribute the financial part, but if you can somehow do that within the equity in your company itself, where we're kind of a unique business in the fact that, yes, we provide kind of like a service, a self-storage, but we also have like brick and mortar, right? Like, we literally have a physical structure that's worth something. So when we first started, I'm like, hey guys, if we can build like this, if we can build something, it's like in the $2-3 million range, and it's valued about that, and we can build it for like $1.5 million to like $2 million, like we can build in equity in the facility itself, and we can just basically use that money as kind of, what a silent partner would basically be as. And we're kind of just keeping that all in house and expand that way. So I mean, if you can do it that way, and if you can keep building your business without silent partners,
and like borrow it versus
OPM,
exchange
other
for
people's money
exchange for equity.
That's
another thing too. With the storage facility, like, that's obviously a capital-intensive startup company. But with, I think it's important to point out, because I think if most people that are thinking of starting a business assume they have to go and get investors, or it's going to cost, $200,000 or $100,000 or even $50,000 or $20,000. But we started AdShark for like $300.
That's a good point.
Businesses like the one that you're doing, yes, you're going to have money essentially as a down payment to borrow money, right? But there's a lot of businesses, especially service businesses, you don't really need that much money to start. And I think the key is too, like, when you're starting, don't just go all in on a $30,000 website or whatever. Like, you want to take baby steps and test the market first.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Kind of like when we started ours, like you said, it's like a capital type of investment business, because we started, and I basically, I was like, I was 35 or something, or 36 when we started talking about it. At that point, I was working for a couple companies. I was always in the financial industry for 7 years. I started working for this company, Ferguson Enterprises. And I got it started late in college after the military. So I think at that point, I've only had like $100K and $100,000 in my 401K. And they tell you to never, ever, like, don't withdraw the money, right? But me and Robbie wanted to get into this business. I mean, I put the business plan together. Being in a financial background, I'm like, I reverse engineered it. I'm like, I know exactly what the bank is looking for. I know exactly what questions they're going to ask. I know how much. I'm like, hey, Robbie, I have $50,000 that I can, take out. He's like, dude, I got about the same. I said, we need one more guy. I said, I can put a business plan together if we got $150K out of our own pocket. And then I think I can get a bank to approve it, because I'm going to reverse engineer it, because I know we can get about $650,000, $700,000. And then once we get that approved, I can ask for more money later on down the road for overages.
Did you guys work with the SBA at all?
So we did the SBA.
So then you only put 10% down?
It was about, maybe it was a little more. It was like between the SBA. So the way it kind of works is it's like a 60-40 deal, right? So the bank usually takes like 60 of the risk that you're going through, and the SBA is 40. It's somewhere around there when all the fees and stuff are done. So typically, I think the SBA is like only 10%, but when you start doing the bank portion too,
20.
it end up being like 15,
okay.
roughly around like 15% down total. If you just want to ballpark it just to be safe, like 20 is for sure. Most most banks will do. If you have a good business plan together, and you can't just go in and be like, hey, I want to build storage. Like, we had the land picked out. I had the entire business plan. I had the facility basically built on I had an engineer basically do the plans. Like, I went in there like, this is like, it's going to be hard to not approve us. Like, if I'm the underwriter, because I used to underwrite, residential, like home equity lines and loans, vehicles, lines of credit. So I'm trying to make this thing where, like, I can't decline myself, right? So I'm just trying to do that. So
like
we went in there.
Get rid of the flaws
which is a huge advantage. Like, if I didn't have that background, one of the most difficult things is to harness financing from an institution. Like, the bank financing is like a big deal. Like, it's a skill in itself. So when we put all that together, I went to 3 financial institutions. I said, hey, here's you go ask for $1 million. 3 guys that have never been in business, banks are like, they're kind of scoffing at you. Yeah. So I went in, had 3 banks, and I was like, here's what we want to do. Here's our idea. The first one to basically give us a shot. Like, this is who we're going with. So I kind of put the pressure to make them like compete with each other. And then we were lucky enough, Choice Financial, gave us a shot. And then,
did you get one yes or 3 yeses or?
We got the 1 yes, and then the other 2. Well, the one is like, they weren't really sure. They it was basically like a no, but it was like a soft no. And the other one's like, we need more time.
Yeah.
Like, we
so
need to
then
do this.
you're
And
like,
I was like, no, I was really like, you have until Friday, like a Friday. And then Friday came and they called, and I was like, we're going with the other bank. Like,
so you probably could have got to 3, but you're like, we got a yes. Let's go.
I think we could have got the other one. Yeah. The one was probably a no for sure. They were just a little more conservative. You got to find, and the timing was right too. It was kind of like we were a few years out of the recession. The banks were like starting to get really aggressive again. That's true. And then they want your business. So, it worked out. And then, I had a good relationship with the VP. And I'm a golfer, so that helps. And he's a golfer. So it's about relationships. This is why you do these things. You build relationships and you build trust. But you're exactly right when you talk about, that's an example of a business where you need the money down and you got to be it is a risky, but it's a very calculated risk. Yeah. And it's basically the only thing I would ever do where I was thinking where I'm reallocating my 401k investment. Right?
Yeah. And I think like, in most situations, it's good advice to say, don't pull out of your 401k early, right?
Yes.
But that's for most people.
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously situations where it is a good decision to do that.
And then, when I started too, I was like, okay, what, I'm just getting married. And, my wife is at Sanford. She has a great job, but she's like moving up the ladder. And then how do you convince, it's really, you have to have somebody that's really supportive. And the kind of way I approached it, I said, Katie, this is like what I want to do. Like, this is, I'm going to do this. I just need your support. Yeah. Like, I could be like, hey, do you think I should do this? Well, then she might say no. And then I leave myself open. If you're just like,
being smart about how you approach it.
You have to support me. Yeah. And then all the wives have been so supportive. And that's a big deal.
The thing is too, like, I think you have to listen to other people to some extent, but also not listen to them.
Yeah.
And it definitely depends. Like, some people will be like, no, that's a dumb idea, you could never do it, or
that happens more often than than you think.
Yeah. And your loved ones, like, they're probably the only ones that are going to give you the more honest their more honest opinion, but that doesn't mean that they're always right.
You are exactly
they don't 100% understand. Yeah.
Your biggest deterrence will be your friends and family.
Yeah.
The people who hold you back the most is usually your friends and family. It's weird. Some people are cynical. They don't want to see you succeed. Yeah. But most of the time, they're just like, they don't want to see the risk, and they're worried about you, and they're worried about you failing.
Well, I think through like school, college, all this, we're like kind of trained to like follow this one path, like go to college, get a job. And the thought of owning a business or starting a business is kind of like a pipe dream. Like, no, that's unlikely. That's too difficult to do. Like, you couldn't do that. You're not smart enough or whatever. Like people all have these internal self-doubts.
Yep.
And then at the same time, like other people tend to doubt that you can do it too. But in reality, it's not that big a deal. It's not that hard. For me, I started a business in 2011. It was my first business, and it was a daily deal site. So basically like Groupon for Fargo. Right. And after I started it, I realized that it already existed in Fargo, and they beat me by like 6 months. And they actually had like a good portion of the market, SaveCoin. So but starting that was such kind of like an internal struggle initially of getting over like, what will people think if I fail? Can I do this? Like just that internal struggle. But after I did that, even though it did essentially fail, like I clearly understood like the things that I was worried about prior to starting literally did not matter. Right. And it was pretty much a non-factor, and it made it incredibly easy to start businesses after that.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked to like a couple other of our guests about like this too, and then I don't know if you listen to any of the Gary Vee podcasts, but he talks about this too. It's execution. Yeah, I mean, you just got to execute. There is hundreds of millions of ideas, but the smallest percent of people execute. Yeah, like, people talk about they're going to do shit all the time, but in general, like the majority of the population does not execute.
Yeah, everybody says I should start a business or I should do this or whatnot, but very few people actually commit, like 100%. Liquidate their 401k and freaking do it.
Dude, it'll blow your mind. The people will be like, I was going to do self-storage. Like, I thought about doing that. I'm like, yeah. I get it. You thought about it, but you didn't do it. Yeah. It's just like, when like Facebook came around, those people are like, you didn't invent Facebook, because if you'd invented Facebook, you'd invented Facebook. Yeah, you just didn't execute. But that's the whole thing, man. You got execution, dude.
You have to take the leap and commit to it first. And then from there, like, to me, that's what holds most people back, is that initial leap to decide to take that risk, do whatever's necessary to get there, and then after that, now they have to execute. Now, it can't just be wantrepreneurs anymore. Like, I love that term. They actually have to basically bust their ass and grow their business.
And I mean, it's a skill set, like being like an operator or an entrepreneur. It's like a skill, because I've mentioned this to other people, not on the podcast, but to other people, about when I worked in the plumbing and HVAC industry. We had a few people who were like some of the best plumbers or some of the best electricians, or maybe some of the best at heating that they could be. They're amazing. And then they thought that they could go on their own, but they don't know how to run a business. Yeah. Right? Where you could take a great business operator, he could know absolutely nothing about plumbing, and he could start a plumbing company and absolutely smash it. Yeah. Because he'd hire the right people, and he knows how to operate.
I think it's a collection of like skills that are valuable to start it. I also think like entrepreneurism, I guess, is almost like a personality type. Because do you listen to the podcast How I Built This?
No.
You should check it out. It's a good one. I can't remember the guy's name. It's Guy something. But anyway, he talks with like essentially what you're doing, like all these founders of major companies. Okay. And they just tell their story and talk about, their childhood, all this stuff. But what I find is there's so many similarities. Right. And like when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, God, like I have so much in common with a lot of these people. Like they struggle in school or don't care about school or uninterested with school.
It's amazing.
They kind of have ADD. Right. They got started very young into starting like random businesses or selling stuff.
To pause right there, we'll each tell, do you remember your first ever like kind of little entrepreneur side gig?
Yeah.
Side hustle?
Me and my brother were taking saran wrap and wrapping up football cards and selling them to our friends.
It's amazing. How old were you then?
Let's see. I
That's
lived
like
in Hillsborough.
genius.
I'd have been like 10 years old. Probably.
That's amazing.
No, probably a little older than that, like 12, I'd say. 10 or 12.
So you're going to love like my first where I'm like, this is kind of like something I like to do. So I went in the military after high school when I was 18 years old, right? So we got in the military and I'm just like this smallest dude like you could imagine. I was 5'6", weighed 120 pounds, scrawny, but I was good at a couple things. I was small, so I could do push-ups, and I could run like crazy, and I could do sit-ups. So, and physical training is like a big deal, and especially in basic training. So like the drill sergeants kind of leave you alone. You're actually considered like you're like a good soldier, right? If you're physically fit right away, and nothing else matters right away because that's all there is the physical training. And then kind of your peers are like, oh yeah, you're really good, whatever. So then what we would do is every night we would have a thing when we're sleeping in our bunks or in the barracks. We'd have a thing called fire guard, right? So we'd have someone sit at a desk. And they'd basically sit there for 2 or 3 hours just to like, it's basically discipline stuff, like trying to not to get sleep, keep you awake, try to give you some responsibility. A fire's not gonna happen, right? But
Yeah.
you're like, you got your weapon, and it's all this crazy stuff. So I literally started to figure out like I could function on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. So then what I started to do is I went to everybody who was on the list for fire guard, and I would take 3 fire guards. So I'd take about, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours of fire guards, where everybody else is getting 8 hours sleep. I'm looking at 5 or 4. And then I'd be like, for $5, I'll take your fire guard.
Yep.
And then I got really skilled at shining boots. Like I could shine boots. Like we're talking like ridiculous. Lighters, neutral, and I'm shining. And everybody's like, dude, your boots are like sick, man. Will you shine mine? I'm like, sure. So then what I started doing is I went to everybody. I said, hey, I'm taking these fire guards. If you want your boot shined, leave them in front of your bunk and put $5 in the boot, and I'll come by. And I was literally getting like $50 a night, and I was shining all these boots. Well, if you do something you're getting better. Like I'm getting better and better and better, faster. And the drill sergeant's like, everybody's boots are like so freaking shiny. So anyway, I did this for like 5, 6, 7 weeks. I just had this wad of $5 bills.
Crazy.
Like we're talking like thousands of like $1,000 to $2,000 in $5 bills.
How much?
A couple grand
Oh,
in $5 like rolled up like with a rubber band. Well, anyway, so what happened is we have these wall lockers, and anytime you left your wall locker open, the drill sergeant would go in there and throw everything everywhere, right?
I can
and
see where this is going.
Everybody would have to come and like help pick it up, blah blah. So one time we're like, it's a Sunday, we're doing our stuff, we're cleaning all our stuff in our wall lockers. And the drill sergeant just like calls us down to do PT, really pissed. Well, I didn't lock my lock all the way. I come up and my lock is unlocked, and I'm like, oh my God, how did the drill sergeant miss this? This is like amazing. And I open my freaking door, and there's a mirror in there, and in like red marker, written on the mirror is like, this is drill sergeant number 2. We had drill sergeant number 1, 2, and 3. Drill sergeant number 2, come see me immediately. So I go in there, I'm like, oh my God, like he's going to chew my
Thinks you're
ass
selling
up.
drugs or something.
Right, so I go in there, and he's like, Private Miller, you left your, wall locker unlocked. He's like, I usually throw everybody's stuff around, but he's like, what in God's name are you doing with $2,000? I was like, Drill Sergeant, you're not going to believe this. I said, you know how everybody's boots are really shiny? And I've been taking people's fire guard, and I've been shining these boots. And he's like, Private Miller, he's like, you're going to go somewhere someday. Get out of my office. So I didn't get my stuff thrown. He could have like kept that. Like, who knows? But from that day, I'm like, dude, like I have like this skill set where like I think I can like help people out and then provide a service and then make some money. So that's kind of like my first ever
That's crazy.
Side hustle.
Yeah, I think that's, it's initiative, being resourceful, and like just, kind of being a hustler. I'm surprised though, as good as that story is, that was your first
it is kind of really my first. I was like it's a lot later than people usually get started. That was 18. I'm trying to think. When I was like,
sounds like that was kind of a light bulb moment.
It kind of was. I mean, I did like the lawn mowing stuff, and I'd mow people's yards for like $5, but I never thought about like how to like. I am providing a service, but like the difference is maybe because I wasn't old enough and didn't realize
maybe more as a job.
When I was 18, like my peers and the soldiers are just like it was more like they respected me and I'm providing them a service, and I can see like how much it's like helping. Like everybody's just like, oh dude, our boots are so shiny, like this is amazing. So like it's like a feel good thing, right?
Yeah.
When you're providing a service. So on my end, when we're providing self-storage and our top thing is customer service, like that makes a difference. And people, it makes a difference for people, makes them happy. They're like getting in and out really quick. And for you, you're providing a service as well. Like you're helping them generate more business, through your marketing. So that's kind of like my first time I really realized that it was like making an impact. So
that's
kind
funny.
of kind of a cool story.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna get back to AdShark here. So we kind of talked about how you started everything, and how you kind of built your team. Tell us a little bit more about like the in-depth of AdShark, like what you guys do and what you can do to like kind of help promote businesses and marketing and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, we are.
You need another drink?
Yeah, I think so.
You talk and I'll make it.
Good. So we're a digital marketing agency based here in Fargo, and essentially we just focus on driving sales and leads through online platforms for our clients. And what was it? Did you ask another question too?
No, I basically said, so basically what AdShark does and what they can, what kind of value they provide to their clients and kind of what they can do to help support.
Yeah, so like I said, we're do digital marketing. And I think what's different, there's a lot that's different about us. I don't know, it's such a broad question.
So if I was a client that was coming in and then basically, hey, Rick, I'm looking to kind of increase my digital marketing presence. What's something that you could help me out, or how would you go about like explaining any of that to me?
Oh, yeah. So, in terms of driving sales or leads, we're doing it all through digital means, and most of that is through, either search or social. So we do a lot of Google AdWords. So, when people are searching for something, we're bidding on these certain search terms and driving them to your website. And then we also do a lot of Facebook advertising as well. And that would be, kind of considered on the paid side of our business.
Okay.
Paid advertising side. And then we also do search engine optimization.
That's a big thing now, isn't it?
Yep, definitely.
And for people who aren't familiar with like SEO, what's a good way to explain that?
So it's essentially making improvements or tweaking like the structure, content, the way your site links internally, like just making website changes to ultimately improve where your website shows up in the search engine results.
Right. So like when you're searching for something on Google or whatever.
Yep. And ultimately, I'm sure as most people know, like the higher up your site is in the search results page, the more traffic you're going to get, and thus the more business you should get as a result of that.
What do we mix these with?
Oh, sorry. So what is this in here?
I put that Grey Goose in here.
Oh, this is all Grey Goose.
Yeah. Well, this is like a bunch of ice, so I didn't know what we mix it with. So.
Ginger beer and
this. Okay. Just a splash of this.
Yeah,
so we're mixing drinks as we go because it's Friday. So we got Grey Goose vodka. We got this sweet lime. Just a splash
not
of this.
a lot of that because that's
like
pretty sweet.
That?
Maybe a little bit more,
Okay.
like double that, because that's like pure sugar essentially.
Okay.
Like you can use normal lime juice or this just to make it.
And then you use this ginger beer. Oh, so it goes ginger beer and then Grey Goose.
Yeah, I'd say mostly ginger beer, not mostly.
I've had Moscow Mules before, but I've never like really made one myself.
I had cups, like the actual cups, and I wanted to bring them, but I would have to stop at home.
Do you golf, dude, at all? Do you play golf?
I do, but I suck at it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I was gonna say because we have these at Moorhead Country Club and they're pretty damn good.
Like I know that you're a good golfer, so I don't even think I'd want to golf with you.
Dude, that's the problem. Like everybody says that, but it's not true. Like I'm like
you've won,
really
you win local tournaments.
Dude, it has
and stuff.
nothing to do with like being good or bad. Like
no,
the
now,
whole game
now
is
you're
like
just
an
being humble.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it is
you're
true, dude. I don't
you're,
go out there to try to beat anybody. It's stupid.
No, you're good. So just admit it. Compared to me, you're good.
Okay, I'm okay. But
Yes.
the reason why, and I talked about this with somebody else too. There's like here's the deal, right? Though like, it's not really like really talent. It's like working my ass off. So what people don't see is I have a simulator back behind our storage unit in one of the heated bays, and I hit 100 balls a day. So I hit 500 to 700 balls a week.
Regardless of how you got there, you're still good.
Well, yeah, but it takes a lot of work. Like I could say like, oh, you're awesome at digital marketing, and I'll be like, oh, you're so lucky, and you're like, no, I actually work my ass off.
It's all natural. I work 2 hours a day.
So anyway, well, thanks for the drinks. This is great. We're kind of
yeah. Well, the one that you just made
first ever
is better than the last one I had.
First ever mid podcast drink mix. Episode 5. Usually we get a drink early on and we just kind of roll with it.
No, from now on, you have to have.
You have to
as you go.
All right. So we were talking about AdShark. We were talking about like what you can provide. We were at digital marketing. Where else were we? We were something like what you. Oh yeah, we're talking about SEO.
Yep.
Search engine and how that helps you kind of like get up there for the Google ranking. And people who aren't familiar with that, obviously. If you're showing up on Google on the first page, like that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, so it's vastly important, but I will say it's also something that like companies need to be leery of because there's so many companies out there that are willing to charge for SEO, but A, they don't know what they're doing, and B, they're just want to charge monthly retainers or monthly fees and not do a whole lot of work or add much value.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of companies trying to take advantage of SEO. And, the thing is like nobody understands it.
No, dude, I feel like I'm kind of on the upper end of tech savvy and getting marketing stuff. I mean, I do the Facebook marketing stuff for us, and I kind of get like, I feel like I'm a little more advanced than like the average person, right? And 100%. I seriously like, I'm kind of like, I know there's an algorithm. I know Google's always changing it. I understand that.
They're always changing it to an extent, but it's tweaks. It's not like
and I know vastly. Organic is like a big deal. I know that I've noticed that the getting Google reviews and high rating makes a big deal, and that helps on the organic thing. And, we do a little bit of Google ads. It's a couple $100 a month, not a big deal. But a lot of that stuff is like, that's basically the extent where I'm like, that's kind of making a difference, but I don't know.
And you're like tenfold advanced from the average business owner or person. And even you like could get taken advantage of on the SEO side or you know what I mean?
Simple.
So and unfortunately, I feel like we're in an industry that is kind of shady, or at least can be, because there's so much opportunity for it because people don't understand it. And so I would just say, people have to be careful when they're
about that.
Yeah.
What do you think about? So obviously, like Google is like the search engine right now, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think? So here, then you can take this any way you want, but like as voice gets more and more important, right? Like now we have Alexa, we have Google Home, we have Siri, and then what is like Alexa? Is she pulling off a Google search engine? No, she's pulling off like her own like search results, right? So as voice gets more and more common, like say in the next 10 years, we'll just use a broad time frame. If it's more and more uncommon in the next 10 years, and a lot of the data, if we're searching everything by voice and it's not being pulled off of Google, how is that going to affect like search engine stuff? Do you need Alexa skills? Do you need Alexa apps? Do you need to you need to get on board with voice, right? Because I mean that's going to be like a big deal.
Well, yeah, good question.
So if I'm sitting at home in 10 years and I'm like, Alexa, find me the best self-storage facility. If I'm not there, if my company's not the one that's getting brought up, like that's a big deal to me.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think and I hate to say this because I hate to be wrong in 5 to 10 years.
This is like,
but like
we
I don't
have
see
this forever now.
I don't see voice. This is gonna be like played.
I'm gonna go back and be like, Rick, I told you.
Look at this, and then there's like some huge voice company. Yeah. No, but I don't see voice as being a huge factor.
Really?
I don't. I think it'll be a factor for even then. And I know now they're coming out with these home units. I have one that's Alexa Show and then Google that Alexa. Now have a screen because people they're not going to want to make a decision without a visual. You're not just going to be like, and this could sound like somebody talking about the internet in 1980.
It could be. Actually,
Nobody's going to buy shit on the internet.
That's so.
Yeah, that's why I'm like hesitant to say this, but I just don't see it working. Like,
you do need a visual, right? Because say you're buying stuff on Amazon, or I mean not Amazon, eBay. You're not gonna buy something that doesn't have a picture.
yeah,
right?
And like,
is that kind of where you're going with it?
Yeah, not only do you want a visual, but there's a lot of other information that you require.
Right.
Just other than them showing up a screen of what information they think you want to see. And not only that, you don't want to see just one thing. You want to compare to multiple things.
Right.
In order for a consumer to make a decision, they have to be like comfortable with it. In order to be comfortable with it, like they have to like compare it to other things to know that it is their best decision, I guess.
Which is a classic example when you go on Google, you do a search right now, say you do self-storage and you see 4 or 5 storage facilities, you're going to look at the reviews, you're going to look at their rankings, you're going to look at their websites, you'll be like, dude, I feel more comfortable with this one because A, they got better reviews, they have a higher review, and it just looks like their website is better built. Yeah,
I think you need to establish that baseline for like the average and then try to pick something that's outside of that or that you feel is whatever you value, whether it's price, quality, or whatever. You try to choose that best option. And I mean, do you trust Amazon to be like, hey, Alexa, buy me a chair, an office chair? And if you just had to literally receive that chair in the mail without any other input, would you be okay with that?
I might be.
I wouldn't.
If I'm like, Alexa, buy me the top-rated office chair. Maybe.
But do you want it black? Do you want it white?
Well, black.
Should it be high
my
or low? Should it be adjustable? Not adjustable?
She'll be like,
have you bought an office chair? There's a lot of shit that goes into it.
My point is, she'll be like, what color do you want? Black. She'll like say it, and I'll be like, black. She's like, do you want standard size, height? Do you want this? Like all the stuff you just ask. Like I think it'll get to a point where she'll ask me all those questions.
I think 5 to 10 years might be tough.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I think they could get most of the way there, but you got to think you have to do that exact thing for hundreds of thousands of products.
Right. Or you need, and that's where like the AI comes in.
Once like AI is like legit.
Okay, so what I'm saying
then
is,
I think it's capable.
Say it's like 49% probability that could happen, so that way you're right 51-49. I'm all about like letting you win. so say it 49% it does happen.
We could say 50-50 odds of whether voice, right? But what's the question?
Well, my point
is it that voice becomes the dominant way people find stuff?
Voice is the new dominant search engine versus going to Google.
Way people find stuff.
Yes. How would that
make purchase decisions?
Yeah. How does you envision that changing marketing? What do you think? Is there any ways that you can envision right now that would change marketing, or is it just too far out to really?
Well, I think part of it is too far out because we're not going to know the factors that are involved in improving that experience for if you're searching and buying through voice. But the other part of it would be very similar to SEO, like essentially creating product names and pages and stuff related to how people are searching, how people are interacting with these search engines and Amazon and what questions they're asking and what things they're looking for.
Right.
So the more specific you can be into how people are searching and how they're looking, the better it is.
It changes, but it's just a different dynamic, but it's still the same. You're trying to get, you're trying to get up there on the top of the search results, regardless if it's freaking virtual search versus voice search, or it's like our which is crazy. We call Google search traditional now.
Yeah,
it's just our traditional.
The game has changed, but the players are still the same.
Yellow pages,
huh?
We could all go back to the yellow.
Yeah,
pages.
Yeah. Well, that topic alone is interesting.
Back when the internet first came out, you'd have been called AAA AdShark.
A1A.
A1A AdShark.
Yeah, like it's that was like part of marketing back then.
Yeah, because it's all indexed, right, by alphabet.
Yeah, and What's interesting on the phone book side is out of, I'd say, any competitors in Fargo or like North Dakota region, we run into the phone books the most, which are companies like Haibu and Dax and whatnot. And these are companies that, had a medium that was valuable and successful at one time, and then the internet completely came along and disrupted that. So then they they decided, okay, now we have to take what we do and instead of selling phone books, sell digital marketing.
For sure. You almost like at some point like got to try to almost put yourself out of business, right? Like
exactly.
What business is going to come along? You got to put yourself out of business. There's just no other way really to explain it.
Yeah.
You just have to keep advancing, and you always have
continually
to
evolve. The companies like Blockbuster and Border Books.
It's funny you say Blockbuster. We brought up Blockbuster on our third podcast.
Oh, yeah?
We brought up actually the historical, like the big boxes that went, and the Blockbuster story, like how crazy, like they should be like Netflix today. They should own everything. They should be the market. They should be Hulu, Netflix, like you name it, they should be it. It's crazy.
Yeah, but like
they got complacent.
Yeah, 100%. And this is like a little bit off topic, but I feel like similar. And I think this happens when, like, okay, so let's say you have a really successful company, and then they grow and they go public. So now the founder, I would say some of the time stays there, but once they're public, then eventually they tend to bring in a CEO. Not the founder. And not only that, but now who's ever there has bosses.
And so they have to report to shareholders, and it's all about short-term, like the quarterly gains. And you're doing things.
Exactly.
You're doing things that give you short-term gain, especially for a CEO, right? Because say a CEO is there for 2-3 years. They have a huge buyout package. Well, the 2-3 years, they're going to compromise the company for short-term gains while they're there because it looks good. And the stock price skyrockets. So when they leave, they can cash out their stock and they make money. Then the next poor soul comes in and has to refill.
It's exactly like the president. And yes, it's exactly what it is.
No one is in there for a long-term gain.
Yep.
And if you do long-term.
Founders, it's
so easy.
To them, it's like kind of their baby. So it's all long-term. Dude, but once you go public, all that, it's now about
just return on. For that, like, dude, I pay myself like dirt to work here. I could pay myself 4 times what I pay myself. But guess what? Our business is not going to expand very fast, and it's not going to grow.
Yeah, and there's probably employees at other companies even making more than you, but they won't even do 10% of what you're willing to do, for your customers.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and it's a little bit different, too. I've talked about this as well. When it's your business, like, dude, I work hard. Like,
that's your reputation. Crazy, that's dude.
It's so
it's
easy
insane
to me to work because I enjoy it, working for myself and having the freedom. And I think it was told JT this as well. If I got hired by a self-storage company, no way.
Yeah,
I'd be
exactly.
like, this is terrible.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird otherwise.
What I do, like... Anyway, Rick is really patient because Rick got here at 2 o'clock and I had 2 customers come here and I had to literally like chip ice in front of their units for like a half hour.
Which is also impressive.
Yeah, which I did that, and then Rick I think he hopefully came up with some good ideas for this podcast, but he kind of twiddled his thumbs and maybe he was doing some research for us for marketing.
I drank for the most part.
Yeah, so that's kind of the point. Like if I was just a hired employee, like am I going to go out
it's weird, and
the great thing about like a true leader and a true owner would never you shouldn't expect someone else to work that hard. It's human nature. No one is ever going to work as hard for my company as I am, and I don't expect them to. If I hire somebody for like $18 to $20 an hour, I'm going to get $18 an hour worth of work, and I know what that looks like. So like that's just human nature.
I'm struggling and learning that whole concept all at the same time, and I feel like it's continually ongoing too.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that, and then if you do that, and you literally don't have expectations, right? It's really hard to be disappointed. And if you literally just take, for me, this is a philosophy I have. Just like the buck stops at me, right? Like if there's something wrong
100%.
with the facility, like it's my fault.
Yeah.
Like you know what? Our contractor might have not put up the door right?
Yep.
But no, the end user, the customer, they don't care. Like, if this place isn't, like, snowplowed correctly, we have a company that comes and moves the snow. If it's not done correctly, like, that person doesn't, the customer doesn't care. They just know, like, I'm the owner. Like, it's my responsibility. If I didn't like it how it was done, I should have had it done better, or I should have done something different about it. Like, it all stops at, like, the owners. Where you talked about when you get a big company and you go private and you get a CEO, they're always, like, trying to pass blame. I'm like, oh, I mean, it's
now they have kind of different goals. They're not necessarily aligned with the long-term vision. But what the thing that you brought up, I think, is interesting. The fact that you know your employees or your team are never going to be as invested as you, right?
Never.
And I think it's worthwhile to, like, dive into that a little bit, because I've spent considerable amount of time thinking about this particular topic, because I found myself always running into the issue of feeling like why isn't my team, like, doing this? Like, why do I feel like I can go in and do it better? Like, I'm doing 100 different things. They got, like, 5 things. Like, why is this happening?
And they have no vested interest in the company.
Yeah, and I think it's a common trap that founders tend to fall into.
Right.
And eventually
It'll get better. I mean, it's a learning process, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, we don't necessarily have employees. Like, you have a payroll, right? You said you have 14 or 15 employees.
Yep.
I mean, I've listened to a few podcasts where they're talking about, and these are companies with, like, hundreds and hundreds of employees, and, like, one of the toughest skills of any CEO, any leader is hiring, right? So basically there's no, like, people think they're skilled at hiring, but they're not. Like, a lot of it is external factors, like either the person comes in and performs, because some people interview great, some people are like, it's hard to be a skilled hire, but the biggest problem with, and we're talking, these are the top, like, CEOs and leaders, like, in the world. They said one of their biggest weaknesses is they hire, and then they don't hire fast enough, and then they don't fire fast enough. Like, they literally hire somebody, and then they take a hire slow, fire fast.
And
they do the opposite.
Honestly, exactly. I'm the opposite too.
Everybody
because I've kept people on the payroll for, like, over months because I'm dreading firing them.
Right.
And you know, we've fired very few people, and we've had almost nobody ever leave. We've had one person leave, and it was because they started their own business. And, like, that conversation, I was like, hell yeah, do it.
Right. And that's what another good leader is. Like, a bad leader will try to keep them and, like, be like, oh, they'll make excuses about the economy and about this. But any true leader wants you to, like, go on your own.
Oh, yeah.
And because kind of on the backside, you're like, you're going to really find out, like, if you're starting your own business, you're going to find out, like, how tough. It's not, like, all freaking roses and rainbows or whatever they say. Like, it's a grind, dude.
It is, yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what's great about this podcast. I'm generally talking to either people who are, you know, current business owners, or, you know, kind of in I always view, like, an outside sales role, or, like, in real estate is you're kind of your own business. I mean, you might be hired, you know, under somebody, or, you know, have for real estate wise, you know, you're under someone's brokerage account, right?
Yeah.
But, like, you're literally kind of your own employee when you're in real estate, because if you don't do anything,
yeah, you kind of have to run, like, it's kind of your own business essentially.
Yeah, right. Cool. So that was kind of, I literally had a segment prepared for, like, the future of marketing, and we pretty much smashed that already. So we're going to get into the next segment. We're, like, pushing on an hour here. This is pretty damn good. So if you listen to, like, a couple of podcasts, I actually, we only have the one podcast out. So if you might have listened to Robbie, which is one of your buddies, we have a section or a segment called the Suck OTD. It's a super unknown question of the day. Basically what it is 100 unanswerable questions that'll blow your mind. And
really?
actually,
is that
they don't really blow your mind, but they're kind of funny. So,
but
for
you can
instance,
search that, or what? That's a website?
You might be able to search it, but I mean, that's just what
where
the
did you get
questions
it?
are. I got them right up there.
Yeah, so it's a website.
Oh, yeah, it's a website. So basically, we could have a question. We had, like, Winnie the Pooh. We had ketchup on mashed potatoes. We had landed in Canada. So basically anything. So basically what you got to do.
Unanswerable questions.
They're not unanswerable, but they're just funny, right? So we kind of end the whole podcast with a funny segment. It could go anywhere. I don't know. But anyway, so you pick a number 1 through 100. And then I read the question. and then we answer, and then we could go to Google and maybe get more information. So pick a number between 1 and 100. Are you trying to get significance?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. 83.
You were born in 83. God, I'm getting better at this, dude.
Yes.
The first one, Rob was like 71. I was like, what is that?
I think, like, whenever you're in that situation, human beings tend to tie significance to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's actually a thing before we get into this question. Like, do you really have, like, choice, right? Do you have choice?
Oh, dude, we could spend 5 hours on this.
You don't. You kind of do, but it's limited.
We're essentially robots with kid that can choose, like, I feel
only
like
around your environment.
Day-to-day decisions here and there. But ultimately, can you decide not to eat? Can you just, like, there are so many things that are biologically, ingrained into.
We'll have you as a returning guest, and we'll get into that, like choice. Like the perception of choice, I mean, it does exist, but it doesn't.
To a point, and I don't think we're aware at what level.
Right. Okay, 83?
Yep. No, not dandelions.
Yeah, we're getting into dandelions, dude.
No, okay, let's redo a different one.
Okay, pick it. I'm never letting this happen again, but pick a different one. They're all like this. Pick a different one.
All right, now you pick one. You have to pick a number.
I'm going to pick 9.
Oh.
No significance.
You're not.
I just thought of 9.
You probably already know what it is, and you're totally acting.
Dude. No, I don't know. This is people have done this one before. Why do you drive on a parkway and park on a driveway? That's stupid. These are okay. Let's try 99.
Yeah, let's just read them and then
we'll do 99.
Pick
99. No, we're gonna do this. Why do they call? Oh, I like this. Why do they call them pepperoni if there is no peppers in it? Why? Do you know why it's pepperoni? Is it something to do with the sausage?
No, I could care less.
You don't even care at all?
No.
So it has pepperoni. Look, I'm gonna find out. We'll find out. So you're
telling me there's no spice into it involved?
You try to come up with a reason why it's called pepperoni while I look it up.
Well, I imagine they probably it's probably spicy, or it was intended to be spicy at some point.
Pepperoni is actually an Italian word for large peppers, as in bell peppers, and there's no Italian salami called by that name, though some salamis are actually similar in spice and flush red with dried chilies. So that's kind of where pepperoni comes from.
Supposed to be spicy?
I guess it's supposed to, but it's kind of weird. It's actually the pepperoni is actually a cured dry sausage similar to the salamis in southern Italy.
There's still spicing in pepperoni, like
yeah.
Maybe there's not specific
there's
peppers,
not,
but there's
in them,
like
right, exactly.
Where does pepper come from? How about that question?
I have no idea.
Like, that's a good question. I have no clue.
I don't know anything about food other than actually there's only the one thing I do know
about food. Google that. Where
do peppers come from?
No, like pepper. Like, like salt and pepper. Where does pepper come from?
Where does pepper come from?
Like, I have no clue.
Pepper come from?
I probably don't even know where salt comes from.
Really? Well, is our peppers peppercorn? Is that the same thing?
Oh yeah, I think that makes sense because when you
they're
twist,
tiny fruits, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Tiny fruits?
Well, is that what peppercorn is? A flower vine? No.
Now this blows my mind. So pepper's a fruit?
No way. I must be reading this wrong. What's a peppercorn? Does anybody know what a peppercorn is?
I think a peppercorn is like that like shit in the thing when you're at the nice restaurant and you have to twist it, like it's white and gray. Or white and black.
I know
the little balls.
Here, pepper is obviously harvested in India and Vietnam. Vietnam is the world's largest producer of exported pepper. Well, we can go into black pepper. Black pepper, a flowery vine. Wow, did not know that. It's a fruit. It is a fruit cultivated for its fruit, which is dried and used as a spice.
See, now there's a blow your mind question.
Dude, that is crazy, man.
And then you could talk about Salt and Pepper, like the female rap group out of the 90s.
Yeah, they were terrible.
They're terrible? They're good.
I have no comment on Salt and Pepper, but there we go. So we got an answer with that. We went through a couple questions. That was pretty fun. Anyway, so actually I didn't get this before we started, which I usually do. If people are looking for any advice or they're looking for any help with marketing, digital marketing, any ad marketing, anything at all, how do these people get a hold of you, Rick?
Just
You got a phone number that we can get?
no,
A
just
business phone number?
just
You won't answer?
visit our website? And use our
And that's,
contact form.
your website is, what is that, AdSharkMarketing.com?
Yep.
Perfect. And then you have an email address. Do you answer emails?
Yeah, I'm good at
What do you
email.
got for that?
Rick at AdSharkMarketing.com.
RICK@AdSharkMarketing.com.
Yep.
Perfect. So you got to visit his website. This is another first on our podcast. No phone number. You just got to visit his website.
I really want to take our phone number off the website.
Really?
Yeah.
AdSharkMarketing.com or Rick at AdSharkMarketing.com.
Yep.
You got anything else for us, Rick, before we end this bad boy? We actually we had some firsts today, and we set a record. We're over an hour.
Good.
Pretty good for a podcast.
I think we
You
should
got anything else?
We should make it 2 hours.
We could if we got into if you have choices or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else? That's all you got for me today? All right, buddy. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny.
All right, ladies and gents, thanks for listening. Until next time, peace.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of the Johnny Miller Audio Experience. You can support the show by supporting your local businesses, especially today's guest. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Johnny_audio and recommend us to a friend. If they own a local business, even better. We look forward to helping your business get the word out right here on the Johnny Miller Audio Experience.